We are now live.
Excellent. I'll call meeting to order. It's 3 p.m. Here at the Clearview Township Committee of Adjustment. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Teonatani, Wendat, and is home of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people as part of the intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask for guidance in all that we do. All the committee members have read last month's minutes. Any problems, questions, queries, omissions? Can I get a motion to accept last month's minutes? All in favor? Carried. Given the two applications before us, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest for members of the Committee of Adjustment? Seeing none. We will move to the request for deferrals or withdrawals of applications of any matters before the committee. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Item 4.2 on our agenda, consent file number 24B07, received comment from the Niagara Escarpment Commission, NEC, on August 13th, 2024, after the notice of hearing had been mailed and the staff report had been prepared. The NEC advised that the application should not be heard before the Committee of Adjustment prior to the issuance of an NEC development permit. The recommended motion is that consent file 24B07 be deferred without cost and tentatively rescheduled to the October 9th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment meeting, provided the NEC development permit has been issued.
Would the representative of this file like to speak? Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment at Clearview Township.
Thank you. Is this on?
It is on.
Thank you. My name is Miriam Bassey. I'm a planner representing the owner of the property, Charlotte Carter. And so just a quick synopsis. On January 24th of 2024, we submitted our development application for a lot addition to the NEC. It was a simple request. No buildings are being constructed. We simply wanted to add a small strip of land that they also own to the property that they have their residence on. So fast forward to, there've been numerous back and forth emails with the NEC, just trying to gain some status on our application through all those months. And around the third week of June, the planner that we're dealing with at the NEC indicated that his report was complete and it has now gone to management for review. So that's almost been 2 months that it's been sitting there under review. And as the email that he sent out yesterday back to Roslyn, it's still sitting there for review. So we have no control over this. We find it rather, well, I really have no more words. It's almost 7 months for a very simple lot addition, you know, so that's why we're here asking for the deferral, and hopefully we can be on the October 9th agenda.
Awesome. I thank you for the update on that.
Thank you.
I will ask for a motion as read by Madam Secretary on this file to defer it till the October 9th meeting. Oh, you can ask all the questions you wish, sir.
Can you hear me? In the event that we're not ready October 9th, are we just going to defer it again? Is that the option? Because I'm a builder and I've been waiting almost a year for NEC, so who knows?
It's,
Madam Secretary.
would even get me started.
I think the plan is, as the motion has, I read, is that provided that the NEC development permit has been issued by October 9th, we will reschedule it for then. If it hasn't, then we'll have to delay it. But we won't meet again on October 9th to defer it again, if that was the question.
Would it be better to make a motion to defer it until that we've been notified that they have received it?
We can do that.
We are at the word amendment.
Okay.
So you'd like to amend it to until we get the.
Yeah, and then
approval.
yeah.
And then we just slide it on the next meeting.
That's correct.
Is that amendment acceptable to the? Show.
Because I'll be surprised if it's ready for October 9th, quite frankly.
I'm sorry,
I'll be surprised if it's ready by then, quite frankly.
I might have to take a trip to Owen Sound.
All right, we gotta vote on the amendment first. All in favor? All in favor is the amended motion to defer it. All in favor, carried again. Both of those carried, Madam Secretary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the Committee of Adjustment today will consider a minor variance application scheduled under the public hearings. The Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before the Committee of Adjustment decides whether or not to pass a minor variance. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present to the Committee of Adjustment and the public the details and background of the application, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. For each application, the Secretary Treasurer will summarize the proposal and correspondence on file. We have planning staff here to provide any information that is relevant to the application. And from there, the applicant will be provided the opportunity to make a presentation, followed by questions or presentations from the public, either in favor or against the proposal. Madam Secretary, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Notice for these consent and minor variance applications were posted on the subject properties on or before July 29th, 2024, being at least 14 days prior to the hearing. Notice for these applications were also sent by mail to the assessed owners within 60 meters of the subject properties. Notice was also circulated for the applications to those persons, departments, and agencies likely to have an interest in the applications as legislated. Included with each notice was a legal description of the subject property and a description of the purpose of the proposed consent or variance. The circulations were provided in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, Chapter P13.
Excellent. Item 1 on our agenda is minor variance file 24-A15. Madam Secretary, could you summarize the application?
Thank you, Chair. Minor variance 24A15 concerns lands municipally known as 5370 Concession 3 Sunnydale and legally described as Lot 4 on Plan M559. The purpose of the application is to request the approval of the Committee of Adjustment for relief from the residential large lot RS1 zone maximum gross floor area of all accessory buildings requirement of 64 square meters to 152 square meters. The total variance being requested is 88 square meters. The effect of the application is to allow construction of a detached accessory building on the subject lands. Circulation of the application was mailed on July 29th, 2024 to the applicant, appropriate agencies, and property owners within 60 meters. Comments were received from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, having no concern or objection to the application. Comments were also received from the Township of Clearview Public Works Department and are outlined in the planning recommendation report. The staff recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Clearview hereby approves minor variance 24A15 pertaining to lands at 5850 Concession 7, Sunnydale, on the basis that it meets the 4 tests in accordance with the Planning Act, subject to the following conditions. 1, that prior to issuance of a building permit, all existing detached accessory buildings, for example, sheds and/or outbuildings, are removed from the subject lands. And 2, that the applicant is advised that construction of a second driveway is not permitted in accordance with Section 2.15.2 of Township Zoning Bylaw, and an entrance permit for a second driveway will not be issued by the township.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Planning staff, any comment on anything that we do not already have before us?
Thank you, Chair. No additional comments, but again, here to answer any questions that may come up.
Awesome. A representative from the family, from the file. They could be you, sir. Yes? You have to go to the microphone though. Otherwise, the recording will pick up your voice. Can you add anything to the file that we do not already have before us? Or would you just like to answer questions from the members of the committee?
Just ask me questions.
All
It's
right,
all new to me.
I like it. Any questions for the gentleman? Go ahead.
Sorry. Through the chair. What do you propose as your entrance to your new building if you're not allowed the laneway? Are you going to come around the side of your house?
Yeah. If I can't do that, then I'll have to cut part of the hedge down.
Yeah, so I think that's the issue here. Is they're not allowing, they're not proposing to be allowed to have a second laneway as part of this application.
I don't know about that now. That was my idea to come in there. It's not. I'm a fisherman. And my boat's usually in the water most of the summer.
Mhm.
The only time I'd be using that entrance is to put my boat away for the winter. It's not gonna be used for cars. And I believe I heard, you mentioned something about they wouldn't give me a permit until I empty them sheds. Them sheds are full. My backyard's full. All tarped up because I was spending all this money on 3 storage units. I have accumulated a lot of stuff and I've got rid of a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff I can't get rid of just yet because I can't get at it. It's all buried. It's not that I'm gonna be coming in and out of there all the time. It's a place for my tractor, my big tractor, till it's sold. I got 2 lawnmowers, tractor lawnmowers. I got all the push lawnmowers. I got my ATV sitting outside.
Give me a second, sir. I do have a question for the planning staff. Nick, can you explain that? That sentence.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the township zoning bylaw does prohibit the number of driveways to a existing lot in a settlement area, so it does limit it to 1. The applicant does have an existing entrance on the Circle Street to the property. It is existing, an existing gate. The intent is not to have that removed as a part of the condition, but the current site plan does show a driveway to be constructed with the proposed structure, detached structure. That construction of a driveway would be not permitted. Access, because it is existing, if he wants to use it for, access every once in a while, it's an existing situation, but he would not be able to get an established driveway as proposed in the site plan. That would not be permitted. And a formal entrance permit for that use would not be permitted by the Public Works Department based on the zoning. So the intent was not to remove his existing gate. If it wasn't there, we would not allow it to proceed in the future. But because it's been there historically, and I think it does predate the existing current bylaw, the intent would be we recognize that it is an existing gate there, but anything proposed as a driveway on the site plan is not permitted. And just to inform you that that wouldn't be allowed. So it wouldn't be allowed to have a gravel surface or anything of that nature. It'd have to remain grassed and be a rear yard.
Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah. I think I heard it all.
All right.
So Gary, what they're saying is you just have to leave the driveway the way it is, right? You can't, it's not a driveway. It's just a gate. You can back your boat in and out. You cannot finish it or anything. That's what they're saying, right?
No, I
You can
wouldn't
use
touch it. I wouldn't touch it.
Yep. Okay.
All right, is there any more questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Yeah, through the chair, just, sorry. Yes, through the chair. You mentioned that your sheds are full and I'm sure you want to transfer your stuff from your sheds into your new building when it's up. Is there some flexibility on timing for the sheds coming down?
Soon as I can get them empty and my stuff, if I get the new building up, they're going. They're starting to decay anyway.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was asking planning, yeah.
Through the chair, thank you. That is a good point. It is kind of the chicken before the egg. They won't be able to move the contents of those structures into it until the building permit's been issued and obviously the structure constructed. I'm just trying to think in terms of flexibility of how the condition to be cleared on our end for it, but I see the intent. So the intent would not be to prohibit the removal of those structures before that structure is constructed, but we do want a trigger to make sure that those are removed once that structure is erected on the property. I'm just trying to think of the wording would be improved for it, or if there's another mechanism. Ultimately, we have discretion of the implementation of the condition. But it's a matter of ensuring that that condition is triggered at some point. So,
Nick, may I ask a question then?
yes.
Can we word that condition to pick that condition up on final inspection? Occupancy inspection, anywhere along the way that's not before the building permit of the structure that he's trying to build.
Yes, or there could be from like after issuance of building permit, put a timeline on it perhaps as well, like a 6 months after issuance of building permit. That could be a potential effect as well, but that's the intent of it, is that the number of structures do need to be removed, the timing of which, I think we can come to an agreement on that.
I think the committee understands the intent. Is there a specific amendment to it that we can make that meets the intent? Can we amend that condition to? You tell me where along the line you'd like to see it. But my suggestion is to amend that to a little later in the process before before the final inspection, obviously.
So,
A suggestion.
well, so a building permit is good for 1 year from issuance. So why don't we attach a condition that once the property is built and occupancy has been obtained, then we add a condition where they have a period of time to empty and dispose of the existing structures that are required to be removed. And we can put a timeline on that, and we can share this with our other department, bylaw department, and they could follow up.
Well, I know that I understand that whatever we do here will go in the file for the building people department, and that file will go through, so they'll understand that before they send out the final inspector, right, this condition has to be met.
Well, not really, because if you get issued a building permit and it's good for a year, they could start building at 364 days.
Understand, you're
Yeah.
looking for a timeline.
I'm looking for a timeline after it's built, because
Okay.
then that gives them time to move into the new building.
All right, 90 days?
I'm good with, 3 months. So we could attach a condition that after occupancy is received, they have 90 days to store and remove the existing buildings that are required to be removed.
And
So we need.
And planning staff would agree with that assessment as well. I guess maybe even asking the applicant in terms of the intent of the timeline of when you believe construction will be completed for the structure. Do you have any understanding of when you think because once building permits been issued, how long will it take you to construct the structure?
Soon as I tell the guy I'm okay.
Okay. So that maybe I'd leave the discretion up to the committee members to determine what timeline they believe to be reasonable, but the suggestion does meet the intent of the condition that I've recommended. So I would agree with that approach, establishing a certain timeline on it.
At least that way, we ensure that the condition is met before the township is off the property and gives them the final one, right? Whereas putting it 90 days after occupancy, the township has to go back under property standards to support this, right?
But legally, you can't be in it until it's,
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
So we have to add to that instead of a part of it.
What's up? Yeah. Give us a second. We're having you're giving us something to think about here.
So. Right. So based on the conversation, is it not possible to put an amendment to have it 90 days or 60 days after completion of the building?
So it's really up to the committee to change whatever amendments they would like to do to the conditions that put forward, based on staff's review of it, provided that those two structures are removed from the property prior to kind of use of that structure. Staff are okay with that going forward. Again, occupancy may be the trigger point for that, before they're actually able to utilize it. If it's not, it would become a bylaw enforcement issue after the fact, and the applicant would be in contravention of the bylaw, and that would be another trigger point to have it removed, but that would not technically meet the intent of the condition. It'd be hopefully that the applicant would follow that requirement.
I have a lot of appetite to amend it to a specific time frame. If you guys can come up with a time frame that works.
You mean within the time frame of the bill?
I
think it has to go after. So for example, if I build a house.
Yeah.
Property, somebody's in an existing house, I usually get a year to tear it down.
yeah,
So that's what I was saying, we need to give them time after the building is up and occupancy. So I'm good with 3 months.
all right. Is there a consensus on 90 days?
Yeah. That work? After it's built and you're in it, you get 90 days, tear your buildings down and put your material inside.
Fine,
That should give you lots of time.
fine.
Excellent.
All right, is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this before we hold the vote? Nick? No, you're good? All right, anybody else? Everyone in Ontario has a right to be heard. So I don't want to trample on anyone's rights before we take a vote here. All right, so the amended condition, Madam Secretary, is that the buildings must be torn down 90 days after occupancy certificate is issued.
So build it, move into it, 90 days to tear down the building. Okay.
Do we need a motion for the amendment? I would assume.
What's up?
I said we need a motion for the amendment.
Yes. I'm just waiting for the secretary to have the word in just right here. Not a problem. No rush.
90 days after the building is erected or 90 days after the permit's been issued?
No, occupancy.
Occupancy.
Inspection,
After the final inspection?
Yeah.
or final inspection. Okay, fine.
Yes, please.
So the new motion that I've drafted here is that 90 days after the final inspection, all existing detached accessory buildings, sheds and or outbuildings are to be removed from the subject lands.
All right, so a vote on the amended motion. Yay or nay? Yay? Carried, so the amendment carries. Do we have a motion to accept the file as amended? All in favor? Your motion has passed, sir. You have got your variance to build it, and then you have 90 days to clear the property of the outbuildings listed in the application. We're good with that? Awesome. You have presented a fine form of debate today. You have made today's meeting very interesting. That concludes the public portion. There is a 20-day appeal period.
Does that
But-
mean I can start?
Miss Berenger here will be your best friend in 20 days. Come see her and she will walk you through the rest of the process. All right, that concludes the public portion of our committee meeting. Is there any new business, Madam Secretary?
I have no new business.
Does anyone else have any new business? None? We tentatively have a meeting scheduled for October 9th, so we have none in September.
Yeah, we did have 2 applications that were received after our September deadline. So we definitely have a meeting for October 9th, but nothing for September.
Excellent. We get a month off. You gotta like that. Is there a motion for adjournment? 3:24. All in favor? Carried. The meeting is over. I thank you very much for your participation.